This episode is brought to you by Topper Jewelers. The beginning of summer symbolizes more than seemingly endless days. It also means we celebrate our friends, family, and loved ones as they graduate and embark on new chapters in their lives. What better way to mark this momentous occasion than with a timepiece that lasts forever? With almost 20 watch brands available and a great assortment of pre-owned timepieces as well, you're sure to find the perfect gift for any graduate. Visit their website at www.topperjewelers.com to discover the gift of time. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Kat.
Hey.
And Josh.
Hi, guys.
We're just going to go ahead because we don't have an intro. There's no point in actually trying to pretend like we have some fancy intro or anything.
But you guys are so professional.
Oh, thank you.
In everything except for an intro. So,
how are you, Josh?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
It's great. Great to have you here today.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Great to be
Three amigos
at your house.
Back together.
It's been a long time since we recorded together.
I think I looked and it was February.
Man.
Was the last.
Did the Monta episode and then we did the photo episode.
Yeah,
and
it was.
It had to be the photo episode.
Yeah.
And we're back. And for everybody who doesn't know, this is Josh, aka at Stuff and Watches on Instagram, this is your third time with us.
It is.
You're basically like, we're 10 and 3. Essentially.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with 10 and 3.
Yeah, why not? Whatever. It still looks nice on a watch.
Yeah, nice-ish.
Nice-ish, yeah. We're all from Tennessee, so
there you go. You guys look nice.
Yeah.
I look nice-ish.
I draw the line at 10 and 4 because, it covers the date and, throws me off. Can't do it.
We're dead. No more. We're out. Speaking of nice-ish, so today we're doing a Father's Day episode, basically just kind of picking some watches for Father's Day. So we figured, why wouldn't we have one of our favorite Nashville dads join us, who has joined us in quite a dad ensemble today.
What can I say? You got to look the part, right?
You do. You're missing either the slides with socks on or the white New Balances.
The mall walker shoes, yeah.
The bright white New Balances.
I almost did swap to my gray 997 New Balances. Ooh. And my wife said, you know what? Let's tone it down a little bit.
So Josh has come down the stairs in his cool dad sweater. Literally says cool dad. It's hot in here too. I'm hot looking at you. And I know you're a hot-natured person.
I am,
So this episode's going to be fun.
You got to do it for the podcast, right?
I love it. Yeah. Well, we have an exciting episode today. I guess Father's Day is going to be coming up in the next week or so. So we thought of doing a Father's Day gift guide of sorts, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
What we would pick.
Okay, what we would buy for ourselves.
Pretty much.
Basically. Just any excuse
if I was a dad, this is what I would want.
Any excuse to spend imaginary money. But no, Father's Day gift guide. So we have 3 watches under certain price points. I was good. For the first time in podcast history, I stuck with the price points at retail.
Wow.
Did everybody else?
At retail?
At retail.
Or readily available purchase?
All right. So Josh did not, is what I'm hearing.
There's always a cheater.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident in my choices here.
Okay. All right. Well, I feel good about myself for the first time.
And I'd like to say I'm just honored to be on the podcast with you guys, and I'm glad that you asked me for the Father's Day episode. Little did you know, way back, I'm 37 now, but back in my early to mid-20s, I had quite the reputation amongst my peers and my friends and my girlfriend at the time, and my nickname was Dad. And I was not a father at that point in time.
But you were the dad of the group. Every group of girls has the mom who takes care of everybody, who holds everybody's hair.
Haven't you said you're the mom?
I'm the mom in my group.
I can see that.
I could be just as, but I'll still make sure we're all taken care of. So you're the dad.
I was dad.
Aww.
Yeah. Derogatory.
Yeah.
It was meant derogatorily most of the time. But I took it as a compliment. So
Yeah, you're just trying to take care of everybody.
Responsible.
Yeah, you're the responsible guy in the group. And look at you
Something
now.
like that.
Yeah, look at you now. So
He's on the 10 and 2 podcast.
hey, we are a New York Times feature.
The glow up
that
is
is
real.
true. That's true.
The glow up is real. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, before we get into talking about watches as far as our picks, what is everybody wearing today?
We'll go with our guest first. So, Josh, you start.
Yeah, so I have my dad watch on, which is my Rolex Submariner 14060M, and this is a V serial from 2008, and this is actually a really special watch to me. I had dabbled into quote unquote nice watches prior to purchasing this one, and I was at the time a professional photographer who was hanging up my professional photography. I was hanging up my camera straps. Because I had become a parent, and professional photography is a grinding, grueling gig. And so I took a more normal job that allowed me to be at home with my daughter more. And I liquidated all of my assets most of my assets from that. I hung on to some photography gear because, you have to. But I took that money and did some responsible things with it, but I took a portion of that money and I bought myself a Submariner, and it was this watch. And if anybody knows me, they know that I grinding, painstaking decision as to which watch I was going to buy.
Yeah.
And it ended up being this watch. Was just the perfect pick for me. And I love this thing. Nothing fits on my wrist like a pre-ceramic oyster case. Nothing is as comfortable. So I love wearing it just in and of itself. But also when I'm hanging out with my daughter and we're doing activities, I'm wearing it pretty much all the time. And if I'm reading her books at bedtime, she'll just sit there and twist the bezel. And she doesn't do it anymore because she's 8 now. But when she was much younger, she called it my turning watch because the bezel turned. And I love this watch. I think this watch, when I think of the watch that I most identify with, I think of this watch, and it's nothing special. It's a Submariner. It's a great watch for sure, but everybody has one, or a lot of people have fake ones. It's not flashy. It's not fancy. It's just a run-of-the-mill Submariner, but it's special to me, and I think in a lot of ways that's how dads are. They're not flashy. They're not fancy. Unless they got those Mall Walker white New Balances. Those are the dads that are stunting on people. But, I think the sub kind of ties in with that for me, and it represents that time in my life where I chose my daughter and my family over, just going for anything else. Yeah. I prioritize them over everything. And so, this watch is really special.
Well, it really is your dad watch.
And
I'm gonna tear up.
I'm
a dad, and I'm also a little on the sappy side, which I think is part of being a good dad. So
definitely, yeah. I didn't know you when you bought that watch, but I can knowing you now, I can only imagine the process that you went through buying that watch.
For
and
sure.
It's the kind of watch that you buy when you're like, I'm gonna take a break for a while, and I want to have something that I'm gonna be happy with, but And I could assume that you kind of went through that, you were going through a lot of changes, and you just wanted to be happy and settled and not have to fuss about watches. And that's a great pick.
It could absolutely be my only watch, and I think you guys might be able to attest to this, being friends and part of the local watch community as well. I know Catlin has seen me in this watch maybe once, but I don't wear this watch to a lot of the local watch club meetups. It's just another Submariner. It's nothing special. I actually way more often reach for other watches in my watch box because I take them because I think they're cooler watches, from a watch nerd standpoint. But
I disagree.
But when it comes to what I want to wear on a day-to-day basis, more often than not, this watch is what I reach for.
Yeah.
It's hardly a day goes by that I don't wear it at least at some point during the day.
Yeah, that's tough. I feel that way too about my Polar. I don't know what it is about it, but they just they wear so well. They go with everything. And I've said this multiple times. I could get rid of everything right now except for that watch, and I would be happy. Somewhat.
Yeah.
Somewhat. No, I would say the same thing about my Speedmaster. My Speedmaster is that watch, that one watch. And I don't want to get rid of everything else.
But if you had to.
No, whatever. Let's just not
Don't
have to.
Don't you put that voodoo on me, Beer.
Right. Take that voodoo away. right. Well,
You're next.
Oh, I'm next.
Yeah, we're going in a circle.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the circle could have worked the other way
it's
too,
true.
just to be clear, because we're at a round table. But it's okay.
We always struggle with this.
Always. So it's summer. Like, I'm very obviously summer today in the brightest yellow top possible. So I went with the Planet Ocean on the mesh bracelet.
Yeah.
It's the time of year that it's just gonna get as much wear as humanly possible. So
Yeah, especially on the shark mesh too.
Mhm.
It's so good. And that, like, the clasp on that,
I
it
know.
might be one of my favorites. Like, I love
love
just
it.
messing with it.
I do too.
It's
I'm
a
worried
seat,
that
like,
one
wait,
day
it's a
I'm
seatbelt, right?
Mhm.
Is that what they
yeah,
call
it's
it?
a vintage like seatbelt mesh.
That is so cool.
Or seatbelt clasp. But yeah, I'm worried that one day I'm just gonna mess with it so much that it
Because it
loosens.
feels like an airplane seat, like an airplane seatbelt.
It
I love
reminds
that.
us of the good days when we
Yeah.
could travel. Those good old days. Or I mean, just even like when I grew up, my dad had a bunch of older cars. You know, we didn't have
Yeah.
nice new
Mm.
cars.
That's true
so,
too.
yeah, like it does
I think,
definitely.
like my-
I had no problem getting used to this. I was like, I was raised with this. What are you talking about?
Those good old lap belts.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the roll up window
Oh,
that
yeah.
you had to manually do.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh man. Times were hard. I think like one of our vehicles only had one of the handles on the roll up windows too.
So you could
Yeah.
take it off from the driver's
You
side
had
and put it
to-
on
you
the
had to
passenger
rotate,
side.
Yeah, you had to rotate it around. So, anyhow, y'all.
Here's the
That's
handle for the
from.
back seat. Kids, roll your windows down.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right. So, Kat, what are you wearing?
I've got my tutor on today, so I've got the Black Bay Harrods. Yeah, it's a new. I actually just realized that I'm green on green today. I didn't even like purposefully do this. I'm wearing a green shirt and a green watch, but yeah, it's a new one for me, and I'm enjoying it a lot. I love this watch.
It's great. That bezel color is unreal good.
Yeah, it's just like it's real subdued. It doesn't really stand out. It's not like a Hulk or anything. It's actually even less than a Kermit, I would say.
I agree.
Agreed.
So you have to kind of like if you kind of have to look at it up close to see if it's actually green, but
Yeah, from across the table, as you rotate your wrists around, it kind
Yeah.
of comes off as a little bit of like a gray ghost
Gray,
bezel.
yeah.
It's such
yeah.
a cool effect.
yeah, love it.
Yeah, and Kat, you and I have had conversations recently about Tudor and their case and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I heard you on the podcast, and I'm embracing the Black Bay proportions.
Same.
And across the table here, looking at it on your wrist, it looks so good.
Thank you. Yeah, it gets like too hated on, I think. And I've had argument. I know you have too, like with people online, and I'm like, nope, it wears good.
Yeah, I think it's so much. It is nitpicky, but it's nitpicking over specs in a hobby that is entirely unnecessary and completely subjective. So at some point you just have to let emotions take over and just buy the watch you like, regardless
Yeah.
of what the specs say on paper. If it's a millimeter or two thicker than you would.
Well,
normally
like a lot
prefer.
of people, I got caught up in the specs and the general size, but on the wrist it feels good, and so I kind of had to push off everything I was reading and just say to myself, well, how does it feel? Like, does it feel good? Does it wear good? And it does. It's like, okay, well then who cares how big it is? Who cares how thick it is? And that's kind of what I've done, and I appreciate it now.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you can never go just off of specs because everything fits so differently. That would be like me ordering a pair of jeans online just based off of the size. Like, I know it's not going to fit me right. Like,
Yeah.
Ever.
It's actually a great analogy.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
It's like these are this size. It's supposed to fit. Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Also, if you buy women's clothes, like nothing's
Nothing's the
matches that.
same.
Like,
It's been
I
a
have
few
so
years
many
since I bought
different
women's clothes.
pant sizes. It's ridiculous. And I'm like, how do all of these fit me? And they all say a different number on them.
Yeah.
Like, struggles. Anyways, but yeah, more of the story. You can't go based off of specs. You have to try stuff on or check it out
For
and
sure.
give it a try. Awesome. Are we moving? Like, I feel like
We're
we're
moving.
actually like moving into
Yeah.
stuff. First
You
time.
guys are a well-oiled machine.
Because Josh is here, otherwise it's just like
We're only like a quarter of a beer in at this point. So this is why we decided to record before we went out instead
Yeah.
of after we
we
went
were both
out.
like, no, we know ourselves. Like, it gets real messy. Like, if we record too late and like with too many beers or margaritas in.
Oh man.
See,
Well,
this is all part of the professionation.
It
It's
is.
just
Yeah.
You guys have it. You've got it down to a science.
Nobody stopped me from ordering an extra margarita the other day before we recorded. So, but speaking of professionalism, Kat and I both have notes, and you made this whole deal. Like, we talked about doing this 3 weeks ago, and you were like, "Oh, I already got it. I'm going to start doing my picks." Kat and I did our picks like 2 hours ago.
I I picked mine 3 weeks ago, took no notes. If you remember the photo podcast we did, I had 4 pages of notes, and I emailed you guys documents so that you would
amazing.
have them on
Kat
record
didn't
as
have to
well.
do, like Catlin didn't have to do her show
It
notes
was
that day.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you
doing
for
you no
making my
favors
show
on the show
notes.
notes
No,
on
thank
this
you.
one. Yeah, you're
Appreciate
welcome.
Muchly appreciate it. Can't wait to
Get ready for the text
Yeah.
after we leave.
What was that again?
Like, can you send me pictures of everything we talked about? So, all right. Well,
I got it all up here in the noggin.
Okay.
True dad mode.
All right. Also, none of us have a plan B, I don't think. So we'll see. Well, you
I
know,
got a
we're
couple.
just-
I think
oh,
we'll be all right.
I have 0. I mean, I just picked to watch 5 minutes ago, so I definitely have no plan B. But so 3 categories: under $300, under $3,000.
Is it under 300 or 500?
Oh, under 500.
Oof. Okay.
This is where I am. Like, clearly, why am
Cat
I in
broke out
charge of
cold
this?
sweats.
All right, so under $500, under $3,000, under $10,000, a watch that we would recommend as a gift for any dad.
Yeah. I bet the 10,000 was like the really easy one.
It was so easy. 3,000.
It was for me, yeah.
500.
The lower the price went, the exponentially more difficult it became
I feel
to
like
make
that
a clear-cut decision.
says a lot about us, by the way. Like, we're good at spending $10,000 all day, but give us $500 and we don't know what to buy.
That's
yeah.
true.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Well, let's start with you, Josh. And what is your first pick under $500?
All right, so my $500 watch, and I'm just going to preface all my picks because I have a theme to my picks, and
Okay.
I have
Of course
a
you
through
do.
line. Yeah. I have
Why are you so extra? So extra.
So initially, I thought that I would pick what would be my number one watch in each price category. And for the $500 price category, I would probably pick like a Seiko or an Orient or like a micro brand. I would probably lean towards a micro brand diver, personally speaking. But I wanted to have a through line to my picks. And since this is a Father's Day episode, I wanted all my picks to be able to work individually and also together as a collection for things that dads might need.
Okay.
So each one will build on the other pick. So for my $500 pick, I chose a G-Shock, particularly a full metal G-Shock.
Mm-hmm.
Take your pick. You want gold, chrome, silver, or if you want the black, you can't get that cool aged black, the IP black. You can't get that for $500.
How much is that one, by the way?
I think it's like $1,000.
I think it's $1,000.
Is it that much more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a limited edition, wasn't it?
Okay.
It may have been.
I think so.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
I know the initial wave also were limited editions, and then they
Mhm.
made some slight changes with the screen.
Yeah.
And they have a general release, which all those are retail at $600, but they are readily available online all over the place at $450. Now, if you want to be nitpicky on my price, then you can pick any G-Shock. My another kind of bullet point on my picks was that I wanted each watch to be somewhat special in its own right, not necessarily like anything rare particularly, but just something that had something special about it, even if it's a little bit more subtle. So with the full metal G-Shocks, they definitely are special. Having one on wrist,
Yeah.
Yeah,
they are
definitely.
very, very cool watches, but you could just as easily, if you don't like the full metal, get you just a regular DW 5600 or a GW 6900 or any G-Shock. But I think every dad needs a G-Shock because as a dad, there's going to be times where you just need to grab something and get out the door
Yeah.
if you don't have a watch on at the moment. Which if you don't, we can't be friends because I always wear a watch. But if if you happen to not have a watch on and you need to grab it and run out the door, you don't have to worry about setting it. If you're a dad, you've got a kid, you've got stuff going on, you might be in the mud or you might be swinging a hammer or something like that. You need a G-Shock, and I think when it comes to G-Shocks, one of the most special variants is the full metal ones. And so for me, I would probably pick either the stainless steel or the black. I would personally actually probably lean towards black based on some of my other picks that we're going to get to. But if I were only picking one watch,
Yeah.
it would be the steel. And I think the reference on that is GM. It's GMW 5000B. And then it's like dash whatever variant you want.
Okay.
If it's like the stainless steel, it's one suffix, and if it's the black, it's another. It's the gold, it's a different. So I would probably pick the black personally, but I think any of those would work great. Dads need G-Shocks.
Definitely.
I agree. And the Full Metal is a really solid choice. Like, I had Abby Shakes for a couple of weeks, and first of all, the weight was a big surprise. They are heavy. So that's one thing to definitely consider. Not that any of us care, like, around this table, but yeah, they're solid as hell. Mm-hmm. They're great watches.
And they've expanded the line so much. Like, they have the Full Metal. The heads of the watches are full metal, but then they have some that are available on their rubber straps. Like, they have a lot of variety. So if you happen to prefer resin over a bracelet, then you can get that with a full metal body of the watch. If you want all resin, you can get, something else. You can get Bluetooth connectivity. You can get everything you could possibly want. You could get for $500 in a G-Shock. And they're also a chronograph. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you're timing your kid doing something or not doing something, then,
Or grilling.
Yeah.
And those New Balances.
Yeah. Don't you dare get barbecue sauce on my white New Balances.
No, it's completely true. I agree. I think every dad should have a watch like that. And then with the metals, you're just getting that one step up from just the normal squares. But yeah, that's a good choice. Solid pick. I know we're not competing, but
that was a good pick.
That was a good pick.
All right, my turn.
Your
Since
turn.
We're doing the circle this way. I have no theme to my collection. I'm just going to preface that. I picked mine in 20 minutes, and I just picked one like 10 minutes before we started this episode. All right, so my under $500, I'm going Q Timex. $180, and now they have all of the color variations. There's so many different colors, options. It's an easy watch to just throw on, forget about. It has such a following anyways. Odds are if you have if your dad or grandfather or anybody is kind of interested in watches anyways or wants a watch, they've seen something like a Rolex Pepsi. Okay, so you get the Pepsi bezel Q Timex if that's where your price point is and that's what they're comfortable with. I think it's a really, really, really great option. I know that I've heard complaints about the bracelets, but they can easily be put on straps. I think the complaint about the bracelet is pulling on hair. But I mean, I've tried. You had one.
We don't have a lot of hair on our wrist either.
I mean, I do have more hair than a lot of people.
I had a Q Timex and I didn't have any issues with it pulling the hair. I had more of an issue of the bracelet that runs, the way it attaches. Mm-hmm. There's a piece of the bracelet that runs underneath, and the bracelet pushed the under part of the bracelet into my wrist, and that bothered me. But I never had issues with pulling hair.
Yeah. See, there you go. It might bother you, but it's not going to pull your hair. The end. Yeah. That's where I'm at.
Well, and it's funny because, like, people complain about that, the pulling hair and everything, but all I can think of is in my head back in the 80s and even in the 90s, like all the guys that were wearing those like Spidell, Twist of Flex, and I don't remember, like, my dad never complained about them, my grandpa never, like, their hairies all get out. But I mean, maybe it was like so in style that you just like you dealt with it, but
I also feel like any true dad has probably dealt with a considerable amount more of discomfort than a little pulled hair on his wrist. So as a dad, this is a good pick. If you're not a dad and you're a little sensitive about your hair being pulled on your arm, then it might bother you. But I mean, when my daughter climbs over me, like my hair gets pulled, things get pinched, like it's not... A bracelet's fine.
A bracelet is fine.
It's fine.
There we go. Well, and I feel like the 80s just kind of have a really big revival right now, and that has such an 80s vibe to it.
A lot of 80s born dads out there right now.
Yeah, exactly. Dads, granddads, who are older and lived through it. So, yeah.
It's a great pick.
Go for it.
Cool.
All right, what do you have?
So I had similar vibes to your Pepsi Timex. I went with the Pepsi Seiko Turtle.
Nice.
Now this one I couldn't get a straight price on, so I got anywhere from like $350, and there were some that were even like $499 for the same exact model. I don't know why, just depending on Amazon. Actually, like, it was really hard to find like readily available, so I don't know if these are discontinued or not. But of course, there's like so many different variants of the Seiko Turtle. I have recently been like a convert, and I know this is kind of like a weird thing to say, like for dads, but the like watch I found was way more comfortable. So my initial thought, I'm going to back myself up here, was I was immediately going to go for an SKX because I thought it looks so good on the wrist.
Yeah.
And it does look really good. And every time I see someone wearing it, I want to buy one. But wearability wise, the Turtle wears so much better than the SKX, even though it's bigger. somehow just Seiko magic. There's
Seiko magic. That's all it is.
Yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. Like it wears thinner, and I think they're like the same thickness. Even it's like madness. I don't know how they do it. But I picked the Pepsi bezel only because like I can totally see dads grilling out over the summer wearing this Pepsi bezel diver. Now, one negative is that it's the Seiko Hardlex crystal, so you're going to get some scratches here and there. I never had a big deal with mine. I wasn't like too rough with it. But if you do want a sapphire crystal, there's some different variants that you can get and spend a little bit extra. But I did see the one that I have now is like less than $500.
Oh, really?
The Sequonaut, as they call it.
The king turtle?
the king turtle, yeah, with the grenade dial. So that one actually has a sapphire crystal, different movement, and a ceramic bezel. So you get all that for the same price. So if you were looking for a turtle, that would be the way I would go. But you can't beat a Pepsi, like a Pepsi diver for the summer. Yeah. So I like, if I pictured my dad outside grilling, I see that on his wrist.
Pepsi just screams summer anyways.
Yeah.
Like, when you think of even Pepsi Cola ads, like it's always like summer and at the beach and like
absolutely.
everything about Pepsi, just those bright colors scream summer for sure.
I had the Patty turtle, the SRP21A, I think it is. But yeah, it's crazy how well it wears on the wrist, and they did some magic with the profile of that case, and plus, like, I mean, I know my daughter, like, she'd flip out if I told her a watch I was wearing was called a turtle. Like, she would that alone would endear the watch to her.
Yeah.
So that's, I think that's pretty cool for a dad watch pick.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect. All right.
Round 2.
Next category. Under $3,000. I have to look at Kat's notes because clearly I don't know what's going on. Under $3,000. So going with your theme.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm up
what's
first.
What's next in your journey? I like, by the way, that you have to buy all of the watches in your collection for it to all work together.
Well, the G-Shock can't exist on its own.
Oh, okay. But the rest has to be a bundle.
Not necessarily. I think they stand on their own.
Okay. What you got?
With some caveats. Okay, so the second watch in my collection, initially, this was where I actually had the most trouble, was this under $3,000 category. Because if I wanted to pick something special and I was thinking about the absolute best watch I could possibly buy for $3,000, I would have just picked a Manta. Like, take your pick from Manta. I don't personally know any other company out there that does a watch better for under $3,000. But in the context of my theme, I am going to pick a Nomos Tangente. And this is a watch I own. I specifically own reference 164. It's the 38 millimeter, which it's the Tangente 38. It actually measures 37.3 millimeters. It's not as big as everybody thinks it is, but I'm going to pick the Tangente. However, my caveat here for it to stand on its own is if you're a dad who has a child that really likes water and you find yourself around water a lot and you accidentally may dunk your watch, I would instead steer you toward the Nomos Club. Any of the Nomos Clubs you want, they have 100 meters of water resistance, whereas the Tangente only has 30 meters. So, but I just personally like the Tangente better, but I think the Tangente 164, 38, or the 35 millimeter variant, or the one with the date, or you could, take your pick. Yeah. Same for the club. The reference I would recommend you look at is the 703. I will say, do not ever buy a Nomos. It does not have a display case back. The movements are just too beautiful. And that in particular is one reason why I came back to Nomos. I almost actually chose the Longines sector dial, the new one, but those Nomos movements are something else. So I'm going to say, take your $3,000, buy you a Nomos Tangente or whichever other Nomos, float your boat or find your lost remote. And then I want you to, whatever strap it comes on, if it's a Tangente and it comes on the black strap, I want you to also buy the Nomos brown strap, the Horween leather strap.
You got to buy a lot of stuff.
The Shell Cordovan strap.
According to Josh.
And if you get the...
You have to spend all $3,000.
Well, here's one. And if you get the club with the brown strap, go buy the Shell Cordovan Nomos black strap, because these straps are so good.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Buy a loop, too. Buy Nomos's loop or any loop. You're still coming in under $2,500 with all this stuff. And then with the 3,000.
What did they need to buy for $500 more?
Well, you could buy that G-Shock.
Oh, okay.
You could, with 3,000, you could buy the Nomos and the G-Shock plus a couple straps and a loop. And as a dad, you're going to have moments in your life where, like, especially like me as a dad to a daughter, like I go to daddy-daughter dances, and there's times in my life where I want to dress up and look presentable and, you know, put forth that effort for her. And you need a dress watch. Like, don't be the guy with the G-Shock at the dance. I mean, you can be if you want to be, but, like, you know, I just think it's cool to show your daughter that you care that much. And if you have a son, there's going to be stuff you need to get dressed up for too.
Yeah.
You know, it never fails as a parent. There's stuff going on. And why not use that as an opportunity to have a watch that is something special with those Nomoses, with that movement. And you've got the loop, and you've got a brown and a black strap to match your shoes when you get dressed up a little nice. And I think the thing about the Nomos too is that they are nice enough to dress up, particularly the Tangente and the Club, but they're not dress watches. They're just watches. Mm-hmm. And so you can easily, with those exact same straps, you can wear them with a pair of work boots. I wear my Nomos and my Wolverine 1000 mile boots together all the time. You know, with a field coat, it looks completely right at home. So I think that the G-Shock with the Nomos as a duo make a really, really strong pair of watches for any dad out there, and it can kind of cover every base you might need.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, you have like your beater watch at that point, and then you also have that dress.
Your fancy watch.
Yeah, fancy, getting all fancy.
Yeah,
I feel like I have an idea of your theme, by the way, and like where you're going. So I know what you're doing.
Just catching on. I was gonna say, like, whenever we do these, list type episodes, almost every time I have a Nomos in the list. So today I steered away from that, but like, Nomos is so good. There's something there for everyone, and whether you're looking for a dress or casual or sporty. I mean, it is literally one of my favorite brands right now. I think they just do so much right. But yeah, that's a really great pick.
While we're on the subject of watches for Father's Day, our friends from Topper Jewelers have curated a special selection of timepieces that are sure to make any dad's day a bit more special. Amongst their top 10 watches for dad, the team has selected the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical, specifically the white dial box set, which offers a refreshing spin on one of the most iconic field watches around. As a bonus, the box set comes with an additional strap so that dad can go from weekend warrior to boardroom ready with ease. If you're looking for something just a little bit more ornate, Rob from Topper Jewelers recommends the Omega Aquaterra. There's honestly just something special about the new green dial that perfectly balances one of the most popular colors in horology today and Omega's advanced technology with a timeless design perfect for any dad. Check out their website, topperjewelers.com, to shop the rest of their top 10 picks. That's TOPPER jewelers.com.
Yeah.
All right. I have to pull out my notes that I can't let anybody else see.
Oh.
Secret. Okay. Well, so under
you're for real hiding it.
Only because my handwriting is so bad. I wrote it so quickly, and this isn't my pretty handwriting, and I'm embarrassed by it.
It still looks way better than mine.
It's not, but it's not like my pretty handwriting.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you fancy.
This is all.
Yeah.
See, and I write in print most of the time if I'm writing fast, but my cursive is like fire. All right. Anyways, so this is what happens when you're half a beer in. By the way, you start talking about handwriting. All right, so under 3,000, I went with the watch that I'm seeing on Instagram everywhere, and I'm absolutely obsessing with it, and that is the Longines Legend Diver.
Yeah.
I am absolutely in love with this watch right now. It's $2,400. It is a little bit on the smaller size. It's 36 millimeters, but it seems to wear larger than the 36, so I think that it's something that first of all, it's a great unisex watch option, and I love that they market it that way. But I mean, it's definitely a really great watch for those dads who are a little bit more on the traditional side, because it has this perfect kind of vintage modern look, which Longines is killing it when it comes to vintage modern. Like, all of their heritage reissues have hit the nail on the head, like absolutely perfect. This watch's only downside to me is the 19 millimeter lug to lug, but it's also a 36 millimeter case, so I get that. Screw down crown, 300 meter water resistance, inner rotating bezel, which I think is super cool. I never use it, but I think it looks really
It does
cool.
look cool.
Yeah, I don't know
The
why.
concept is really
And
nice.
I like the two crowns. Like, I think like we had the duality, and you spent some time with it too before I did. And I just really like the look of the two crowns. I think it's very clean. I don't know, something about it. Yeah, and it would totally be a strap monster. It would look good on absolutely anything.
Yeah, and I don't think anymore, you know, people can say that a 19 millimeter width is a negative, because I've had 19 millimeter. I mean, it sort of is a little bit as far as like bracelets and stuff
I have
go.
18,000 20 millimeter straps and 0 19 millimeter
But
straps.
that being said, there are so many 19 millimeter straps available now, and more
then
and more
I have
every
to
day.
spend more money
Well, yeah.
on all the
If I mean,
straps.
the negative is if you have all, you know, one watch, but
dads
but
don't.
you can
Most dads wouldn't, so it's fine. It works for the Father's Day pick.
and dads are all about like making it work if it's
Mhm.
close. Like
They
you
will
can kind
squeeze it in.
of, so you can actually, as a First Omega in Space Speedmaster owner that
Yeah.
has 19 millimeter lugs, you can fit a 20 millimeter NATO in no problem, and you can, you know, even like some leather straps, if they're not really stiff straps, if they're a little pliable, you can get a 20 millimeter strap into 19 millimeter lugs.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
curved spring bars are your friend. for
Curved
that.
spring bars will help you a lot
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
that's a great point.
Without
I haven't
without
think
it
about that.
looking too pinched, and then you just have the integrity. Because my concern is just the integrity of having pinched up material right there pressing on the spring bar that it might not have secured properly. But the curved spring bar will definitely give you like that little bit of extra space.
it's true. I never even thought about that. Dang it! When I had my Grand Seiko, that would have been helpful.
Oh, it's almost like somebody would have had access to those too. My bad, boo. Sorry. Kat's like slumming it with one strap on her Grand Seiko.
No,
I
but
didn't think about it either.
yeah, I mean, like Josh said, I had a couple of worn and wound straps that I had. They're Model 2, I think, 20 millimeter, and it fit the 19 millimeter perfectly. No issues. But yeah, you can always find a way. Well, there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly. Especially with dads.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, dads will make something. The things that
They're
I've
like,
seen my dad
close
make
enough.
happen, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I will say I feel like a lot of people either don't know this or have forgotten. I love the 36 millimeter Legend Diver. It's a great watch. A lot of people have forgotten about the 42. That was released back, I think, in 2006. And I've been into watches for about 20-ish years or so. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that long before the Black Bay, which I think a lot of people contribute to being the watch that kind of brought forth the the retro vintage look to modern watches. I think the Black Bay came around in like 2010 or 2012. The Legend Diver was like 4 years prior to that. Like Longines does these heritage reissues so well because they're actually the company that started the segment. And it's such a beautiful watch, and it's kind of sporty with the dual crowns.
Yeah.
And it can be dressed up with you could actually just put that watch on a black sailcloth strap. You could wear it with a suit. You could wear it on the beach. It'll go anywhere. It'll do anything.
Yeah.
It's a great watch. And Longines is a great company. I mean, they don't get the shine that they used to, but they used to be one of the top tier companies back in the 50s and 60s. And,
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that's a really cool pick.
They're kind of an
That's a
underdog.
great-
I
I'm
feel like they're an
actually
underdog.
really proud of that pick.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. There's someone that always tags us, and I cannot. Is it Mr.
Mr.
Productions?
Something Productions. Hang
Mr.
on.
Ace Productions.
Mr. Ace K Productions, Dale.
Yeah,
Shout out to Dale.
Yeah.
Dale.
I mean,
Okay.
the photos are phenomenal.
Yes.
But that's the only one, like, I don't normally see them. And I'm always attracted to watches that are not seen all the time, too. That's just who I am. But,
yeah.
his photos are
I think
phenomenal.
that his is the only one that I ever see, but I'm in love with it. And I think I say
I
that
love,
every
like,
time
the
I-
logo on that watch, too.
Mhm.
So I'm a big logo
Because
person.
Longines has one of the best, like, for such a big, like, or such a long name for a brand. Like, that's a lot of letters to fit on a small dial, but they do it so well. We
Yeah.
were just talking about this with another watch, like, just the difference that the way that a logo could make, or if you do have a long name, like, you have to have, like, just the most perfect font and layout. Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
It ruins the watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. So my pick, I kind of cheated a little bit, not in price, but I don't know if like you can consider this a watch. It's the Tag Heuer Connect.
I
And
consider it a watch.
This is the golf edition. So I figured dads,
Went straight for the dads.
granddads. So this is actually a new one. It is limited, but it comes in at $2,500, at just over $2,500. So there's like an 18-hole indicator on the bezel.
Aw.
It's got, I think, over, I want to say 30,000 maps on it from golf courses all around the world. So you can load up that map. There's an app that syncs with your phone, Android, Apple. It's compatible with both. It's 45 millimeters, so it's a little bit on the bigger side, but this golf edition is titanium. You're getting a titanium watch for $2,500 on a cool rubber strap. Comes with two, like a white strap and a black strap. It's pretty awesome. Like I've liked these Tag Heuers. I'm not a huge smartwatch person, but I think they're good looking. And I'm beginning to embrace the technology a little bit. Having owned an Apple Watch now, I can see the benefit of having this. It does nearly all the same stuff. Like it takes your heart rate, it takes your steps, you get alerts. So for like your dad that's out there golfing during the day, maybe your wife or a kid, like you want to be able to reach your dad, but this might be a cool gift.
You've just made sure that no man is going to buy this watch, by the way, by saying that.
They can reach him at all times.
Golf course, yeah.
Well, like you don't want to pull your phone out. Maybe you're in the middle of a tee, and like you can just look down at your watch and
choose to ignore that.
Choose to ignore it, basically.
You can see like what level of like PO'd your wife is getting that you've been at the golf course all day and haven't, like are late to dinner.
You check
can
it.
See like how many more holes you could squeeze in before like your stuff's on the front porch.
Yeah. Well, a few years ago, there really wasn't a ton of like really functional and decent looking smartwatches, and now that's changing. And you can find something, whether you're like a hiker or a mountain biker, they've got these cool Suntos and Garmin's. And then if you're just someone that wants to wear it to work, I see a lot of nurses and even people in my field wearing Apple Watches. And then this is like just a really cool sporty, this is obviously made for golfers, but they have other editions that are a little bit more regular. And I'm actually liking the technology. I'm liking that people are stepping out of their zone, and like, especially watch brands that are pretty traditional and saying, hey, let's try doing this. I mean, you're dumb to think that people don't want it. Like people do. I want it, and I love watches, and I still want smartwatches. Like it's compatible with my lifestyle. So
yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who maybe aren't like deep into watch nerddom, and they probably buy this as an only watch and love it. And then you also have a certain segment of watch nerds that do appreciate it for what it is and buy it not as their primary watch, but as like something they maybe do wear when they're golfing because they don't want to, put their mechanical watch through the shock of that activity.
Yeah.
And, in addition to that, I'm going to guess, I can't picture the watch in my head, but I'm assuming it's like that all black case.
Mm-hmm.
So those 45 millimeter Heuers, the lugs taper down so aggressively below the case back that even on a smaller wrist, it will fit actually fairly well.
Okay.
And their straps are really good too. So it's a good watch. I've actually been looking into an Apple Watch as something just to wear while I go running or something like that. And, I did have a brief foray into looking at the connected Heuers because they're cool. Yeah. Like they're just objectively
cool.
They
still look like a watch from a distance, and you can set. They have those facial profiles on them. So from far away, if someone had one of those on, you may not even realize it was a smartwatch. It looks like a watch. But yeah, I think the technology is cool. This golf edition comes in this huge, like really nice box set. Comes with some Tag Heuer, golf balls and tees and stuff like that. So it's a really good gift idea for a dad.
Yeah, that would be a very good gift.
Yeah.
Is that a hint to Aaron upstairs?
For those that don't know, my wife is mere feet away listening to this podcast from an adjacent room, and I don't get to play golf as much as I used to anymore. But maybe a watch can motivate me to get back out on the links.
There you go. Yeah, you have to justify it once you buy the watch.
The clubs are downstairs. See? I can dust them off.
All right. So last category, under $10,000. Wrap us up with your. I can't think of I can't think right now. So
my theme, my through line.
Wrap us up with your final piece.
All right. So you got $10,000. I want you to go buy the G-Shock and the Nomos, like I said. There's $3,000, so now you're left with $7,000. But let's say you got the whole 10. I mean, if you're just buying one watch, period, just go buy a Submariner or a GMT Master, whichever you can get your hands on. That'll suit you great. If I had that and I was buying one watch, I'd just buy the sub that I have on my wrist. The best example I could possibly afford, and I'd go on about my business. But for the purposes of this exercise, I want you to buy the G-Shock and the Nomos, and then I want you to buy the Tudor Black Bay GMT at $4,000. And this is going to leave some room in your budget, and I want you to take that money, and I want you to take your family, I want you to take your kid, go on a trip, use the watch, do something, create some memories with that watch.
Now I feel bad.
And if you're
I'm
not,
like, spend all the money on a watch, guys.
and if you're not like the go and see things, go and do things type of person, and you're more the beach bum, I almost picked the new wave dial, ceramic wave dial Omega Seamaster 300Ms, because that is like as dad watch as it gets. But I'm just more of like a go places, see things type of person than I am a beach bum.
Yeah.
It's close, but I prefer the Tudor over the Omega ever so slightly. Again, going back to the first round with the Pepsi pick with the turtle, like something about those Pepsi colors just gets us dads. It just it gets us. I don't know what it is. It gets all hot and bothered. So, this Tudor is a watch. I don't personally own it. However, I did have a chance to borrow one recently for 2 weeks. Shout out to SD Watch Dude on Instagram, and it was such a fun experience because I've always liked the Black Bays a lot. However, my neurotic watch nerd inner voice always told me that they were too thick because I prefer thinner watches like my Submariner. And when I got it in, I remember it took a day or two to adjust to the size. And then after that, it wore so comfortably. It looked so good. And the funny thing about it is, like I said, I wanted each one of my picks to have a certain level of like specialness to them, even if they weren't limited or rare or anything like that. And when you're holding that watch, absolutely is an homage, an in-house somewhat homage to the original Rolex 6542 GMT Masters that were made for Pan Am pilots back in the 50s. And I don't know how they did it, or maybe I'm just crazy, but I'm holding this watch and I'm looking at it and I feel that. Like it comes by those vibes and those undertones of those Pan Am pilots and that history. It comes by it honestly. And it feels like something special in your hands and on your wrist. And when you look down at it, and they nailed those bezel colors. Like they're not bright, they're not out there, they're very subdued. For a brightly colored watch that's as thick as it is very low key. And dads are kind of like, sometimes we can be a little extra with maybe the colors or the thickness, but then also we can also be a little, we kind of, our baseline is more low key. And I think it accomplishes all those things. And like I said, if you're gonna, you're gonna take the extra $3,000 and you're gonna, hop on a plane and go somewhere when it's safe and not COVID times, then, it's a watch that you can do that with, and you can actually have it to create those memories with your family. And I love that idea, because to me, that's what watches are. They're functional, they're stylish, but ultimately they become a part of your life if you're wearing them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that my daughter knows I'm always wearing a watch, and I'm sure there's certain watches she associates with me, like the Submariner. And this Tudor Black Bay GMT could absolutely be that watch for any dad out there with their children.
That's great. I agree.
I'm supposed to follow that up.
Yeah,
You're
what's your
looking
$10,000 watch?
Looking over at me. Well, to be fair, in my collection, I could do the same thing you did. All right, the Longines was $2,500. The Timex was $180. My $10,000 watch, honestly, a moon watch.
Yeah.
Which is $5,500. So you could also go on a trip, and I'm gonna go lay at the beach. So I'll go see things, but also like, can there be a beach close by?
Yeah.
No, I mean, to me, the moon watch just has such a special place in my heart personally. But I know, like, it's one of those things, like when you think about NASA and the whole space program, and even now you had SpaceX, like I feel like so many of my guy friends, so many of the dads that I know were so into it. And I think that there's just something about men and gadgets and tinkering with stuff, and the idea, that a space shuttle could go into space, and learning more about it. I think it's just super cool. It has a very dad vibe. It's the perfect watch for all day, every day, realistically, as long as you're not taking it to the beach. Like, This is a watch that you take on a sightseeing tour with Josh. And then you wear the Longines on the beach. There we go. We're done.
You got it.
Problem solved. But really, honestly, almost any Omega Speedmaster. Like if the traditional moon watch isn't your thing, or your dad's thing, if you don't like the idea of the manual wound or you want more water resistance, go to one of the in-house calibers that does have 100 meters of water resistance. The new racing collection, or you could even at that price point, you could go to the new moon phases, which are really nice watches too.
I love those moon phases.
The blue down moon phase is everything.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I mean, and realistically at that price point, you could probably get, go into the ceramic series and just buy something, used, or buy something kind of on a third party seller. I love the Speedmaster collection. I love the things that come out of it. For me, I'm just a sucker for a moon watch.
I agree. I mean, there's something so iconic about the watch, especially just like the professional alone. And that's kind of, as far as going into my pick, I picked something that I really haven't talked about a lot, but I did a Panerai 8-day, and the reason was I figured, I know a lot of dads are on the go. They don't want to mess with their watches, just like a lot of moms are too. And if you're getting a gift for someone that's not a watch person, that doesn't flip through watches all the time, something like this, I mean, obviously they're going to put it down. It's definitely going to be going when they come back on Monday over the weekend, but 8 days, like, that's just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do with that. Like, that would be a lot of fun for me to mess with, though.
I would, literally time out when I took that watch off and just, wait and see. I've set an alarm on my phone and, an alert in the calendar. I totally would, because I just want to see it.
I mean, yeah, and if you're wearing it every day, I guess it's not a big deal. But if you do flip through a couple different pieces, then I think it's really awesome that you could set it down and come back in a week and pick it up, and it's still going. It's just, no fuss, and it's iconic, like your Speedmaster and like your Tudor. I think if you're going to spend this kind of money, at least for me, I would think you want to get something that's iconic, goes with everything. This watch, Panerai, I'm starting to become a Panerai lover. I'm just going to admit it now. There's something that's been getting me a lot lately about them, but they're just super tough. Again, just a complete classic look. They're no fuss. It's like a no fuss watch. Yeah. And when I first got in the hobby, I was like, they cost that much? But now, I appreciate the design. I appreciate where they come from. And they have, I think an 8-year warranty now.
I believe that's right, yeah.
Yeah, 8 years. Like that. So, again, you just kind of not have to worry about it too much. But, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be harder. It'd be difficult to find a harder wearing watch. It's going to handle anything that any dad could throw at it.
Well, I figure if Rick can wear it every day and his is still running, then
yeah,
can survive anything.
It's exactly. Fine. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that at that price point, that's probably the one watch that you can wear and never have to worry about. That comes in at
just over $6,000. And the reference I picked was the 00510, and that's the black dial. It comes on a black leather strap, but you can get rubber. You can put anything on it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a very dad move too. It's you got $10K, but you're gonna get the you're not gonna max the budget out.
All
you're
of our budgets we're under $10K total.
Yeah. First time ever. I mean, for you. It's fine.
Well, I didn't even have that goal in mind, and it just kind of worked out that way. But yeah, I mean, I could have gone up, and I did. I had an alternative as a Speedmaster Racing because again, I like the extra water resistant that one has, and they're they have a bunch of dials that I didn't even realize they did because I've only seen the gray and then the white dial, and then they have this super dark dial too. And I was like, whoa! I've never just gone on there and looked, but yeah, such a good option.
And we learned recently that you can put a rubber strap on that watch, and
True.
It looks so good.
Watch on my wrist.
Yeah, watch on my wrist.
It looked really good.
I know.
I think it looked better on rubber.
I agree. 100% agree.
So. I'm a bracelet guy.
So
I'm riding the bracelet camp, but it did look good on rubber.
Between the leather or the rubber, I would definitely go with the rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
These are definitely all I can see a dad wearing any of these watches that we picked at any price point.
Yeah.
Period. There's definitely some watches you can't see a dad picking. My Nomos might be probably the most left field for a dad watch of the bunch that we picked here, but I think all these are very much in that dad vein.
They're dad approved?
Oh, they're dad approved.
Okay.
As approved.
As a dad myself, I can say that all these watches are dad approved.
Oh, yes.
Official. I can speak for all dads all over the world, everywhere. Unilaterally.
Awesome. Well, to kind of throw in one more thing, we wanted to just to say a quick non-watch related or watch related, whatever you picked.
Kat, like, real quick backpedaled because hers is totally watch related. So
Yeah, I was like,
she was like, wait, no, watch related. Just anything, any
Anything.
item.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
That's not a
basically-
watch, maybe.
Yeah, that's not specifically a watch. Yeah, just kind of an idea, another Father's Day idea. So, what you got, Josh?
So I'm actually going to bend some rules here, and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to do one item for purchase, and then I'm going to do one activity.
Okay.
And the item for purchase, I'm wearing it. The Cool Dad sweatshirt. Okay? So full disclosure.
This will be in our show notes.
Yeah, this will be in our show notes. There will probably be an accompanying photo, link to the site, www.cooldadshop.com. So this company...
Do you have a promo code?
I do not have
I was going to
I
say,
do-
like, Josh is real fast trying to sell some sweatshirts.
So full disclosure, when my wife and I started dating, I had a daughter. And so, like, she's like, oh, you're like... I mean, she knew right off the bat. She knew I was a cool dad. She could just pick up on it. And... she bought me this sweatshirt, and this sweatshirt and the accompanying t-shirts that are available as well from this company is actually her little cousin's company.
Oh.
This was a senior class project for high school
Aw.
that turned into something way
Turn
bigger.
into like an actual business.
Yeah. And his
Very
dad, Aaron's uncle, is very much a cool dad. Like he's an awesome guy, and his son Colton is now in college, and Colton and his friend who run this company, you know, they're just good kids. They're just flat out good kids, and it's such a cool concept.
Yeah.
And if you go to their social media page, it's like it's a lot of college age kids wearing these, but like everybody in my wife's every dad in my wife's family has one of these.
Wait, college kids are wearing shirts that say "Cool Dad"?
Oh
on them?
yeah, girls, guys,
Really?
whatever.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Man, I'm so out of style now.
Yeah.
I still-
It's like for them it's ironic, but
Yeah.
then like all the dads in my wife's family have been gifted one of these
Aw.
Cool Dad sweatshirts.
So that like made you part of the family when you got this.
Kind of,
sweatshirt.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was already part of the Cool Dad family,
Right.
but it made me part of
like-
her family when I
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so actually, if you go out here in Franklin, Tennessee, wearing one of these shirts, like you're liable to get pulled aside and say, "Oh, hey, I know Colton," you know. But anywhere else, it's just kind of a cool shirt.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you know, silly and fun, and you know, you have to embrace the dadness. If you're a dad, you just got to embrace the dadness. And so I would recommend one of these for purchase. They're actually really high quality. I mean, it's not like a $15 sweatshirt. It's going to cost you, I don't know how much they cost, $30 or something. But they have t-shirts available. They're super, super nice quality. And I can't recommend them enough. Plus, he's a good kid. So
Yeah.
so that's the item for purchase. As far as an activity goes, this is something that I started about a month ago, and with not necessarily related to COVID or anything else, but I'm more of like, for exercise, I'm more of like a cardio guy, but I'm getting a little older, as most dads are. That's what we do. We get older. So I'm 37, and I'm like, I just turned 37. I'm like, I gotta do something for like strength, because like bone density or something. I don't know. And so, you know, I think part of being a dad is taking care of yourself for your family. And when my daughter was born up until like 3 years old, I was 70 pounds heavier than I am now. I was the dad that was like sitting on the park bench while she was running around asking me to play with her, and I was like huffing and puffing and couldn't keep up. And I decided then and there that I wasn't going to be that dad. Get a little choked up when I talk about my daughter.
Aw.
So I got in gear, and I got on the bike. I started running. I lost 70 pounds by cleaning up my diet and
Wow.
exercising. And so in here recently, what I started doing was 100 push-ups a day. And for someone who only does cardio like me, that's a lot. Some people
Yeah,
are probably
that's a
laughing
lot.
at that as nothing, but
Not me.
I just
Not me.
I just started, and I said, you know, I'm going to do this for 30 days. 30 days leading up to my 37th birthday. I did 100 push-ups every day. And there was a lot of times where I spaced them out evenly throughout the day and did 10 here and 10 there, and it was really easy. And there was some times where I was like just trying to cram them in at night before going to bed, and it was absolutely brutal. But I just decided that I'm going to do this every day for 30 days. And it made a difference. Like, it made a difference in my overall strength, and with a tape measure, there is a difference in measurements and all that. But I guess the point here is that just whether it be 100 push-ups a day or whether it be buying a bicycle to ride with your kid or something like that, do something. Make a 30-day commitment to do something for yourself and your health, even if it's something as simple as like cutting out calories from your drinks or stopping sugar for 30 days or something. Anything that you can do to better take care of yourself so that you're around to see your kid grow up.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation.
That's so sweet.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
My dad had a lot of health problems when I was younger and like should not be here. And I think that's very important to think about, like long term being here for your kids.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, so I get to follow that. Next time we come over, I'm not sitting next to Josh.
I'm never on the podcast again. This is it, guys. It's been nice.
Everybody just is crying in their cars. No, so mine is a little bit more of an activity too, but it's also something you buy. And for me, I really enjoy just kind of hanging outside. I know my dad does, when we're hanging out. And I enjoy like outside kind of games, like yard games. Cornhole, especially in the South, I'll have to put like a YouTube
Best
video or
game
something
ever.
because I don't know that like cornhole translate to all parts of the world. I think invest in like a decent set of cornhole boards or like the yard Jenga, and now they even have like the beer pong, but it's in like buckets, so like bucket pong that you can play outside with your kids. And the thing is all of these games are short. They're not very long. So if you have small kids, it's not like you're outside. It's not like you're playing Monopoly. Who the hell has ever finished a game of Monopoly with their kids?
I don't think I've ever finished a game of Monopoly.
Yeah, like nobody does. But they're short games you can make, and if you're having fun, you can keep going. If not, okay, like we could put it aside. But I just really enjoy being outside and just the laughter that comes with it. And just playing games outside, yard games, I feel like are a great way to go. That is my suggestion.
That's great.
Love it.
Yeah, I love yard games. Like,
Mhm.
that's the best. Like, I'm a homebody, so I like to stay home, but I love having friends over and family over and just hanging out, chilling, and playing cornhole, and
Yeah.
it's like the perfect day.
For sure.
And I'm trying to remember, I don't think my dad played very many games.
No, like we played board games and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I think cornhole is it's a newer thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Is it newer?
I think I've never
I
heard
think
of it
it's
until the
fairly
last.
new.
Because
Like,
I feel
in
like
the
as
last
a
10 or
kid, I
15
never played
years.
it, but then like teenage, college, it was like everybody played, and I wondered like how old it was.
Yeah, I think it's 10.
That's a good question. I
Yeah.
kind of remembered around college age.
Okay.
Like about 15 or maybe 20 years ago, coming onto the
Interesting.
scene. It is such a fun game, though.
Yeah.
And my daughter loves playing. Like, she just likes throwing the bag around.
because
You
it's
can
like, you don't
personalize
have to have
the
any
boards,
skill,
You can
like-
personalize the bags. Like you can just make it a lot of fun. Like I know Tyler's dad has a set of Ohio State corn whatever.
God help him.
I know. Poor Tyler too loves them. Ugh.
I'm honestly
So-
surprised that from the other room, my wife did not yell out OH because she is an Ohio State fan.
Aaron, you're an Ohio
And
State
I'm an
fan?
Alabama fan. And you guys are Tennessee fans. There may be a brawl after this podcast, like
Not
an
really.
all apartment.
We admit that we suck.
Yeah,
Like,
we-
we know, but we will talk hella shit, like,
Yeah.
no matter what. But we
fine.
know we suck. It's fine. Like, it's
we
fine.
can take it.
But I think
Um,
college football and cornhole are big in the South.
On a Saturday.
Yes,
Yeah.
I wonder if like the
Grilling out with
Northerners
your
do
New
that too.
Balances.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot, working a spatula with the left hand while I throw a bag
Oh
with
my
the right hand.
god.
Try me.
You had to do the tongue test too. Like, no matter what. You always have to click the tongues
Oh,
for
yeah.
no reason once they come out of the
Is
drawer.
that a dad thing?
It's just a thing in general.
Oh.
Like, when have you pulled tongs out of your kitchen drawer and you haven't given them like a
I
two or
guess
three
that's true. I
click?
didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
You're like,
It's just you have to
Yeah,
for whatever
that's
reason.
hilarious.
Make
I've
sure they
never
still
thought
work.
about that in my life.
Tong spatulas. It's like for dads. It's like toys.
Yeah.
Like grill toys.
And
Grill
I'm
toys
like, yeah.
is a good gift idea too,
Oh, I
Oh,
think that's
absolutely.
always like a
Yeah.
solid like dad choice.
for sure.
Anything to do with the girl aprons and all that kind of stuff.
Kat, what is your extra thing?
All right, so my extra thing, a buddy of mine on Instagram named Kyle Snar, he used to be a writer for Gear Patrol, but he has started his own brand called Cantonment. And what it is they are sort of an EDC item that they wanted to fill the gap between a handkerchief and a bandana. there was nothing kind of in between. He's a big hiker, outdoors guy. A lot of, bandanas are not really that soft. And so he is actually putting out this product called the Kerchief. It's kind of in between both of those sizes, super soft. It's 100% cotton. He sent us a few. I gave a couple to you earlier. Yeah. They are incredibly soft.
Very soft.
I could imagine, I stick this in water as I'm hiking, tied around my neck, and it's not going to bother me. I am a big, bandana person when I'm hiking, and even more so now because, I don't want to be around a lot of people, so I'll slip it up. It's not a mask, but it has a double use for sure.
Right.
But this is really cool. So actually, the Wind Up Shop now carries this product. They worked with them and released it, and it's really cool. You should check them out. They've got a lot of prints on them, so they did a couple of watch ones. They did some photography ones, and they almost look like blueprints on the kerchief. But it's really cool, and it comes with a little NATO-esque piece that is called a woggle. So when you I know that is the professional term. Yeah. So when you tie the kerchief around your neck, you can actually use that little NATO piece to kind of clip it together and stay put. But it's really cool, and I think it's a great EDC item to carry for your dad.
I like it. You just gave it to me before we started recording this, and first of all, the packaging, I love how super minimalist the packaging is. There's no frills to it. It's so simple. But the designs are really simple too. We have the watch ones, and they're not too in your face or whatever. So I like that they're more subtle. It's one of those things that you would have to know what's up.
Yeah, and after talking to him about it, he knows a lot of watch guys are into cars, into photography. So he wanted to kind of take that and put it to the test with these kerchiefs.
Very cool. And what a timely product. I mean, I'm sure he didn't intend it to be that way, but you could,
and he had been working on it for years, but yeah, definitely if you're out on the trails or I mountain bike, I can put this around my neck, and if I pass a lot of people, I can slip it up and down. But and this is really old school, but I carry a handkerchief in the winter. I don't like carrying tissues because my husband carries handkerchiefs, and my grandparents always carried they always carried handkerchiefs, and I don't know, I'm just
so did my dad and my grandfather, and there's no way.
A handkerchief is a power dad move. I'm not gonna lie.
I am not a dad.
I actually
such a dad move.
And this is probably going to discredit everything I've said on this podcast about being a cool dad. But I don't anymore. But I grew up, I was raised by my grandmother, and so I was around a lot of older people.
Okay.
And I carried a handkerchief all through childhood. I was the guy in high school with a handkerchief.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And
you might be a cool dad now, but you were not a cool teenager.
In retrospect, I would never claim that. In retrospect, very lame. But at current day, I would absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a dad with kids, you might want to have something you could pull out of your pocket and wipe your kids.
Oh,
I will say, Matt, when you get the blowout sneeze and your kid is in the back seat of your car
and you're nothing
driving, and you have I'm just desperately grabbing anything out of my purse. I'm just
there you go,
anything that could possibly wipe something off of his face. Man, those are the
to the rescue.
All right, fair. I don't want to advertise that this is what it's being used for. Your friend is well, thanks for that. Yeah. Thanks for that glowing review. Glad everybody's using them as handkerchiefs, though.
Multi-purpose dad tool.
Absolutely.
Very clearly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to wrap us up today. Thank you.
Good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, it's always fun. Always so much fun, for sure.
Shout out to all the dads out there. Moms definitely make the world go round, and every powerful female figure in any kid's life is a really great thing. But dads, don't sell your importance short in these children's lives. It's having a good dad, a good father figure in a kid's life is huge.
Yeah.
So,
and not just that, it's like you said, a father figure. I know a lot of people who are just kind of there for kids who don't necessarily have a dad around, and shout out to anybody, really to anybody who just does their best to make some child's life better in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, so everybody, Josh, let everybody know where they can follow you on Instagram and whatnot.
Yeah, most of my online presence is on Instagram, and the tag is @StuffAndWatches, and I just post cool photos of my watches or watches I may have on loan.
With stuff in the background.
With stuff in the background. I post pictures of stuff and watches. Mainly watches and stuff, but sometimes stuff and watches.
All right. We will have show notes, of course, on our website, www.tennand2.com, spelled TENN, of course. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter @10and2media. And I think that's it, y'all.
That's it.
All right. Well, happy Father's Day to everyone. I think we're headed out for dinner and drinks. Let's do it.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go eat pizza.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.